So what is time really? 1 year was a lifetime when I was a year old. Right now it's a 144th of my life. And by the time I'm 101, it's just going to be a fraction of a percent. So what is time? What is time really? Is there a mechanical thing that can really tell us what time is? Or are we just thinking that we can measure time because we have these mechanical pieces? That's a really interesting question that's always been on my mind. I've never comprehended the aspect of time, in the sense that I've known a lot of guys that they want their watch to be precise, really precise. They want to have a nanosecond of accuracy on their watch, or whatever you want to call it. And I've always thought that watches are really the only reason why you want to have a watch that's really accurate. It's only because of work. That's pretty much it. That's the only reason you need an accurate watch, because even fun things like watching a movie, if the movie starts at 7:45, it's probably not going to start at 7:45. It's going to start generally around 7:45. Most things are not really that accurate. Time is not as accurate as we think. Is a minute underwater the same as a regular minute? I don't think it is. Is a man living in a prison cell 1 hour? Is that a lot longer than a man sitting in the park with a person he loves? Of course not. It's a different hour. Time is really a tricky concept. There's no mechanical thing that can really tell us what time is. We think we understand time, but I don't think we do. That doesn't mean I don't love watches though. Now, I'm going to go into 3 of my watches. These are not the only 3 watches I own, but these are 3 really important watches for me. These are 3 watches that have made a difference in my life and the way I see things right now. These 3 watches just represent the way I see time and watches. I'm going to start with this watch right here. This is a Seiko Presage. I don't know if you can see it really clear or not. This watch is really hard to take pictures of and to show on video. I think that's a pretty good example there of this watch. Now, to me, this watch is the most elegant watch I own. This watch is just elegant. It's just a beautiful watch. I love it. I've gone many places with this watch. I've been in the French Riviera drinking wine. I've been in coffee shops drinking coffee with philosophers, important people, businessmen. I've had a lot of fun with this watch. Actually, realistically, I've only taken this watch to my mom's house and to the mall. But this watch is the watch that I would use if I ever did something like that. This is the watch that I would use. That's the reason I have this watch. That's the reason I own this watch. That's the reason I bought this watch. This is the only watch I ever bought full retail. I paid full retail for this watch. To me, this is a watch that has taken me many places in my mind. I've never been to those places, really. I've never had those experiences. But if I ever did, I have the watch that I would take. So this watch I see like a lottery ticket. You know when you buy a lottery ticket and you buy it on let's say you buy it on a Monday and the lottery plays on Wednesday. So you got a couple of days, maybe 3 days, 2 or 3 days of thinking what you're gonna do with all this money. And you're really kind and really generous, and you help people that need help. You do all kinds of things with that money. You buy properties, you do this, that, the other, the car that you want, probably some really nice watches. In reality, you don't do any of that. It's just having that lottery ticket, even if it just cost you $1, you live the dream. You live the dream that was amazing. And it's probably never going to happen. The odds of winning the lottery are really slim. Same thing as with this watch. This watch, I've had many, it's taken me on many wonderful experiences that I've never really been to. Probably never will. I don't want to say never, but the odds are really slim. But anyways, if it ever happened, I do have the watch. I love this watch. This watch takes me to places I've never been. at least in my mind. I know it. I know it's not a Patek Philippe. I know that to somebody that actually lives that life, this watch may be ridiculous because it's just a Seiko, $200 Seiko. But that doesn't matter to me. That is only what this watch gives me. It's about the way I see this watch, the way the way I feel when I wear this watch. Like I said, this watch I've only worn to my mom's house and a couple times to the mall. I don't really wear it that much. The type of work I do, I don't have any real dress clothes. I don't own a tuxedo. I don't own any fancy clothes. I don't really go anywhere that's fancy. But that doesn't really matter because in my mind, that's where this watch takes me. Now we're going to go to another watch that's really, really, really amazing to me. We're going to go into this watch right here. This is a Seiko Turtle. And yeah, it's another Seiko. It's just a big 44 millimeter Seiko. Nothing that amazing. Nothing that great to some. But again, here I have another story about how I see this watch. I'm a third generation watchmaker. I do maintenance work right now, and this video may be a little off of my regular videos, but this watch represents something that's stuck to me over years, over time, over my life. See, what happens is when I was 7, 8, 9, 10 years, somewhere in there, we know all those years, my dad was a watchmaker in jewelry stores, of course. And in a jewelry store, you walk in the jewelry store, it's really fancy, it's really nice. And they used to have watchmakers. They don't that much anymore, but they used to. All of them used to have a watchmaker. And the watchmaker is sitting in the back in a room. And, during summer vacations or stuff like that, I'd sit in that shop for days with my dad. And he was fixing watches. And I'll say it was the most boring thing I ever saw. Seeing somebody fix a watch can be really boring when you're 8 years old. But there was something about it that was really interesting. I was always listening to my dad's stories. We'd see a really fine watch. In those days, it would be, for example, a Piaget or a Concorde. These really thin watches that were really, really fancy back then. And were really elegant back in the 80s. And I remember he'd tell me, this watch probably belongs to he'd say in Spanish, yo creo que este reloj es de un político. Which means that I think this watch belongs to a politician. And in my mind, I would see these watches and say, oh my God, this watch is probably some politician. And sometimes he'd see another one and said, este yo creo que es de un hombre de negocios. This watch probably belongs to a businessman. I'd see these watches and I said, "Oh my God, this is such a beautiful watch. Really thin. They were, some of them were mechanical movements, and they were really, really super thin. Some of them were quartz, and they were super, super thin. And I'd be amazed by these watches, and these watches were beautiful. And it was amazing that a really thin watch could tell time. And I loved them, and I'd see them all the time, and I'd observe a watch, and then once in a while he'd get a big watch like this watch. Today's not, this watch is not that big, but back then it was really big in the 80s. And then he would always say, yo creo que este reloj es de un hombre grandote con unas manotas, which means I think this watch belongs to a big man with some really big hands. And in my mind, I'd see a watch and I didn't know the person. We only saw an envelope with a number on it. And my dad just had to fix him. We didn't even know who it belonged to. It's just an envelope with a name on it, with a number on it. But I'd create a story in my mind of every watch that I saw, and of course then I'd see some Timex watches and some Casio watches. It's whatever, all kinds of watches, and I would give each watch a person, not the person to watch. I'd give the watch a person. A character. And now, as the years have gone by, I had my own watch repair shops, a few of them, well, two of them. And it was always amazing to me that somebody could walk in my shop, and they would walk in with a watch like this Seiko Turtle. It's a 1983 Seiko Turtle. And I really wanted to talk to that guy. I felt like that guy had a story to tell, something interesting. Maybe that guy was stranded in the mountains at some time, in a snowstorm, or stranded at sea, or drove across a country. A million things. I mean, I see somebody with a watch like this, and I have a million ideas of who that person could be. Probably not true. The guy probably just bought it at a pawn shop like I did. But it doesn't matter to me, because to me this is a really, really, there's a character to this watch. There's certain people that wear this watch. You know, I met over years, guys would walk into my shop with a really fancy Rolex that nobody can buy. It's limited edition. And they would always tell me the same story. Oh yeah, the dealer, he called me and somebody else had it. And last minute he sold it to me. And I always thought in the back of my mind, this is the same old story. Of course you got money. And I don't want to speak bad about people that have money, because I'm glad for you. But if you have money and you have a lot of watches, you bought them. And that's cool. That's cool. That's what they're for. But the story is not that interesting to me, because they always tell me the story that, yeah, last minute, the guy that had ordered it, he canceled it and they sold it to me. That sounds like the story of the guy that walks into a bar and he tells me, yeah, the waitress, she always wants to, she doesn't matter what she's doing, who she's with, she always comes to me and she always gives me the best service. You're probably the best tipper. The one with the money, or the best tipper? Of course you're gonna get all these perks. Of course the guy, the dealer's gonna sell you the watch, because the other guy that was trying to buy that watch, he probably only buys one every 10 years. If you buy one a year, of course he wants to sell you the watch. There's no doubt in my mind you're getting that watch. It's a business. It's not that he likes you more. It's just that you're the one that buys watches and you're the one that's going to end up with the watches. And it's interesting, but the guy that's wearing this watch, to me, in my line of work, in my social class, is more interesting. I have more to talk to with this guy. We could go into many conversations. We could talk watches. We could probably talk construction. There's a many things me and this guy could talk. The guy with a brand new Rolex that nobody can have but because he's got a lot of money. There's not too many conversations me and him. I'm glad for him. Don't get me wrong. I'm glad for him, because I'm glad somebody's got it. Somebody bought it. It's in his collection. He may not wear it because he knows the value of it and he's going to save it. But it's just a different person. It's just really, really a different person that's going to wear this watch. In my case, I bought this watch at a pawn shop for, I think, $36, and I love it. I wear this watch over my Omega Planet Ocean. I just love this watch so much. I think it's closer to my character than other watches. And that's why I wear this watch. I think I would have a million stories to tell. And I think this is a watch that I could have with me. If I only had one watch, this is one watch that I could have with me. Personify my life. Now we're going to go into a different watch now. And this is a really, 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 really wonderful watch. It's a 1958 Rolex Datejust. Now, anything that I said about the other two watches, this watch is that and more. You know, this watch is pretty interesting to me now that times have changed and I see watches different. When I was a kid, I saw watches as something amazing, but I didn't see watches as part of me. Now, this watch is a watch that I can. Anything that I said about the other two watches, this watch, it's in this watch. It's here. This watch, there's nothing I can say about a Rolex Datejust that hasn't been said. It's all been said. Everything. There's one guy that personifies or is a living example of this watch. And everybody knows him. You guys all know him. His name's Christian from Theo and Harris. Incidentally, I've got him as a friend on Facebook. And I was watching him today, and he's almost got 5,000 friends. And probably I'm going to be one of the ones he races pretty soon, but that's okay. It's cool. But he's a guy that personifies this watch. Anything that I said about the other two watches, this watch can live up to, plus more. See, lately I've been looking at watches. I was looking at a Omega, Cosmic, Constellation. I've been looking at different watches that old watches that I want to buy. And every time I'm just about to pull the trigger, I always think, would I wear that watch over this watch? Because this watch I can put on a band, I can put on a NATO. There's a million different configurations I can give this watch. Now, would I wear the Omega over this watch? Nope, probably not. Would I wear, an old vintage, I don't know, Movado, because I like those old vintage Movados over this watch? No, I probably wouldn't. So this watch has met a lot of the expectations I have for a watch. I mean, this watch is perfect. It's beautiful. People have worn it, from movie stars to janitors to presidents. Anybody can wear this watch. This watch, there's a million stories to be told about this watch, or whoever wears it. This watch is just amazing. This is the watch that if I didn't have any other watches, this is the watch that I would keep. I would wear it on different straps. I would do many different things with it. This is the one watch that anybody can wear, from the guy that's been a janitor for 30 years at a company, to a movie star, to a president of the United States, to anybody. This is just an amazing watch. That's why I love this watch. I'll probably never get rid of this watch, and if I ever do, it's only because I would buy another one, or a different one, a different color, but probably not. This is a 1958 Datejust. I love it. It's got an engine turn bezel. It's got a roulette date wheel. It's just perfect. It's beautiful for me. I love it. Anyways, I just wanted to go over these watches and how I feel about these watches. I'm not really into making watch videos, but some people have asked me to do watch videos, and then I thought I'd do this video. Well, this is the way I see watches. I hope nobody got offended by my video, and thank you very much.